Supporting staff during evacuation, displacement, and shelter in place. Whether it is due to conflict or a natural disaster, being evacuated or instructed to shelter in place is unavoidably stressful. During these sorts of experiences, managers play a vital role in shaping how their staff experience these events and how well they cope. This video will provide managers with information about how they can support staff and promote well-being before, during, and after events that lead to evacuation, displacement, or shelter-in-place orders. Before evacuation, displacement, or shelter-in-place orders. In many cases, the decision to evacuate some staff and/or instruct staff to shelter in place will occur after a period of escalating tension, threats, or increased risks. During this time of waiting and watching, managers can take several steps to support the well-being of staff they supervise. Make supporting the ongoing employment and well-being of staff a high priority. Reduce normal workload pressure as much as possible. Recognize that staff are anxious and unlikely to be able to focus on work. Ease their uncertainty about future employment as much as possible by reassuring staff that your organization intends for them to keep or return to their jobs. Also, keep them working in their roles or a suitable short-term emergency response role as much as possible. Recognize and acknowledge that staff will be experiencing conflicting emotions, such as loss and anger. Remind them of the staff care resources and support available to them, such as counseling. As a manager, consider seeking counseling or coaching support yourself. Conduct a staff meeting before the evacuation or event to acknowledge that this might be a challenging situation and affirm that staff need to join together for strength and support. Be sure to accomplish the following during the meeting. Clearly communicate to staff that their physical and emotional safety is a top priority. Acknowledge that loss is inherent in an evacuation or shelter-in-place situation and that they will be experiencing mixed emotions. Remind staff that the evacuation or shelter-in-place event will hopefully be a short-term response and things will return to a more normal routine. Convey hope and realistic optimism. Encourage staff to practice self-care. Say goodbye if an evacuation is imminent or likely. Ensure there is a clear communication plan. If a phone or radio tree is in place, test it before the event to ensure everyone knows what to do if a person cannot be contacted. An effective communication plan will establish how you will contact each other to pass along information, how often and when you will communicate, as well as when and where you will assemble after the event. If communication will occur via SMS text messages, tell people when they can expect to receive messages so people can conserve their mobile phone batteries and only turn them on during the specific time window. Update staff regularly regarding any security concerns and plans for evacuation or shelter-in-place orders. Staff feel more in control and respond more effectively when they know about the context and likely organizational response. During evacuation, displacement, or shelter-in-place orders. When an evacuation is occurring, staff are being internally displaced and/or shelter-in-place orders are ongoing, managers can support staff in several important ways. First, listen to your colleagues share what they are experiencing. Ask your staff and colleagues how they can take productive action in their current circumstances. For staff being evacuated, do everything possible to ensure logistics have been attended to, that the evacuation proceeds smoothly and safely, and that evacuated staff have comfortable and safe temporary accommodations while next steps are being considered. Update staff frequently, being sure to answer questions and reinforce the core message that staff safety is a top priority. Facilitate contact with family and other loved ones from whom staff have been separated, such as by providing phone credit or access to a phone. Do not make promises or offer assistance that is outside your control. When someone is desperate and you desperately want to help, it is tempting to make offers or promises that you may not be able to keep. After evacuation, displacement or shelter-in-place orders. Sometimes a crisis and security situation deteriorates quickly and unexpectedly. In such cases, managers should be prepared to take several actions. Locate all staff to confirm that they are safe. It is possible to commence work operations and some emergency response activities while the process of accounting for staff is underway. Recognize that internally displaced staff will likely have acute financial needs. That, as a result of emergencies, can be a significant issue for staff and cause extreme emotional distress and even suicidal thoughts. In many cultures, staff may be used to relying on the extended family structure for support, or they themselves may be the source of support for their families. Organizations can consider how to take action to help alleviate financial burdens. Some possible options include offering some sort of reasonable salary advance or loan, linking staff to assistance programs that are internal and external to the organization. If the organization is an NGO, it can seek to include staff as beneficiaries of assistance when they are also part of the impacted population and are eligible to receive support. Managers should also recognize that staff who have been sheltering in place will likely have urgent physical and psychosocial needs. Help them to ensure that their families are safe and being well cared for. You can provide staff time off to address family needs using a rotating schedule to prevent extreme programming challenges. Ask staff how they are doing. Be aware of the various reactions and the confusing mixture of emotions that they may be experiencing. Some questions you might ask include: how are you feeling right now? Do you have any feelings today that you did not have yesterday? Is there anything we did or decided yesterday that you are having second thoughts about or wish you had done differently? Provide access to psychosocial support consultations and individual or team-facilitated debriefs if possible. Survivor's guilt, suicidal thoughts, extreme mood swings and feelings of despair and hopelessness are relatively common in these sorts of situations. Individuals can benefit greatly from having associated thoughts and feelings explored and normalized. Determine what your organization can do to help staff whose families have been impacted. Your benefits program may cover access to counseling. Consider other ways you can provide practical assistance to colleagues who have been impacted. If you work for an NGO, resist response urgency and slow down. Staff based in the location at the center of the crisis will be experiencing a great deal of stress and also feeling a lot of pressure from others, including the organization and the international response community, to take quick action. Slowing down during the immediate crisis response will help protect and serve the staff who are most impacted. Consider scheduling an operational and/or psychological debrief 30 to 45 days after the crisis to verify how staff have recovered. Seek support yourself, as managing a team during events like this can be very stressful. Supporting your staff and colleagues and promoting well-being before, during, and after events that lead to evacuation, displacement, or shelter-in-place orders is an important function of your managerial role. Be sure to review this video as needed to help support your team effectively and keep them functioning as well as possible under the circumstances.